A couple years ago, my beautiful mother here got our family into beekeeping. We got lots of delicious honey, as you can see. But just a year later, she went into the hive and saw that a lot of the bees had these kind of deformed, decrepit wings, and within a few weeks, the whole hive was dead. Unfortunately, she's not alone at all. 10% of the hives in New Zealand were lost last year. Over half in the US and even higher in other places. When our bees go, so too does one of our fastest growing exports, honey, and our $1.5 billion kiwi fruit industry. Even our largest export dairy is dependent on bees for pollinating crops like clover and lucerne. 70% of the produce in our supermarkets are dependent on bees. When we compromise that level of food, horticultural communities that fuel that, they could collapse completely. The poorest people in our nation might not even be able to afford to put these healthy foods on their plate, and it would in turn have massive stresses on our social infrastructure. It's spreading to wild populations as well, like these native bees in New Zealand. When they're affected, so too are the wild pollinated crops like pahutakawa. Whole ecosystems could collapse here, folks. So what's the cause of this? Most experts would tell you it's this guy, Varroa destructor, and its associated viruses. So what it is a skin mite that sits on the back of the bees. It sinks its teeth into the bees, usually the babies, and transmits the slew of viruses into their blood. It's being called a global pandemic now. Current mainstay of treatment is this pharmaceutical right here, Amitraz. Worldwide resistance is now reported. Soon it's not going to work at all. And it's even shown to be toxic to the very bees it's trying to help. So what if we had a solution which doesn't target the mite, but actually targets the viral problem itself? Introducing the kingdom fungi, the great biochemists of planet Earth. We've hijacked their chemical immune systems before, and this guy thinks we can do it again. So what he did is he pulverized up these mushrooms you can see here, and he added it to a sugar syrup and fed it to the bees. And what he did was he monitored these viruses here over a period of about 12 days. Now the results he found were incredible. Every mushroom tested showed marked reductions in every virus tested. The reishi mushroom showed a 45,000-fold reduction in the Lake Sinai virus. Lifespan of the bees, well, it doubled. In practice, it would mean probably administering about twice a year, maybe less, and the cost would be similar to current treatments today. So in order to set up an industry for something like this, you need two things. The first thing you need is you need the knowledge. Thank goodness there's actually already a multi-billion-dollar industry in East Asia for cultivating similar medicinal mushrooms. In Thailand 2 years ago, they managed to culture and grow the very mushroom that Paul used in the experiment I was describing earlier. This is 55 days since inoculation, growing on less than a kg of sawdust as a growth substrate. Now, something else very special about this particular mushroom here is it's actually New Zealand's most common wild bracket fungus. That means that, considering we have 7% of our land mass covered by these pine forests, and that produces lots and lots of sawdust, the perfect growth substrate, that means we could grow these in New Zealand very cheaply and economically. There would be some costs associated with setting up an industry like this, and the nuances of the New Zealand situation still need to be worked out. But I think it's fair to say, considering it could bolster our $350 million honey industry, our multi-billion-dollar fruit and nut industry, and we could sell the extract to some of the the beekeepers of the 81 million hives around the world, I think it's fair to say that the benefits far outweigh these costs. We're very lucky in New Zealand to have such a productive and, beautiful environment, really. But the most crucial life stage of most of the plants in our environment are dependent on bees as a pollinating tool. So they allow seeds to form, fruit to form, they allow trees to grow and sequester carbon from the atmosphere. They bind the soil, prevent erosion and floods. And having nature surrounding us has been shown, especially when it's as beautiful as ours, it's been shown to be a major booster of well-being, as is having social connectedness. And New Zealand, the fabric of our social connectedness in New Zealand, it depends on nature, agriculture, and horticulture, which is built on the backbone of these bees. So when we compromise the bees, we compromise the well-being of our beekeepers, our farmers, but not only them, all of us who benefit from nature in New Zealand. A fungal solution to the bee crisis is profitable, it's environmentally uplifting, and it provides massive improvements in our social well-being. So perhaps if we look to nature more for solutions to our complex human problems, it's the complexity of nature which allows us to find these solutions. Thank you.